Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you that aren't familiar with FP&L, we've got about half the state of Florida, and we're really proud to provide our customers good value. We've got low bills, lower than the national average, yet very high reliability, and among the lowest emissions profile in the country. And today I'm just going to cover a little bit about FP&L's EV program, and like James, no matter what the topic of my presentation is, I always come back to the benefits of EVs. Even in an educated audience like you, I think it helps to remind ourselves why this is the way transportation should go. There's a lot of good benefits, including low operating costs. Factoring in our rates, we figure it's 80% less to fill up an EV with electricity than gas, as well as lower maintenance requirements and so forth. Plus, something that people rarely talk about is the price of gas is very volatile, whereas electricity is pretty stable. Your rates change approximately once a year. So the predictability of knowing how much your transportation costs is a great benefit. The second is it's better for the environment. Zero tailpipe emissions on a pure battery electric vehicle. And Florida's a clean state, so we've got extra benefits here, particularly when we look at FP&L's emissions profile. It's 70% fewer upstream emissions at the power plant. So it's really, really good numbers. Even if you look at states that rely more on oil or coal or dirtier sources of fuel, there's still environmental benefits to an EV, any way you look at it. The third is national energy security. I don't need to harp on this. Most people understand we need to reduce our dependence on foreign oil. A lot of good benefits there. And as an aside, FP&L only produces its electricity with 1% oil. So customers can feel good knowing they're filling up with domestic fuel sources. And of course, the cutting edge technology. We can talk about it all day long, but truly you need to get behind the wheel and try an EV yourself before you really get how much fun they are. Okay, I hate showing this slide because I know we're going to be wrong, but this is our crystal ball attempt at looking at what the market's going to look like. We're predicting a slow ramp up, largely driven in the beginning by slow production numbers. Right now we've got pent-up demand, constrained supply, but even when the supply catches up with the demand, we're expecting it to be slow before people will buy EVs and drive them. This is cumulative sales. So you could see we're predicting FP&L will have about half the state's EVs. And incidentally, Florida has high penetration of hybrid sales. I believe, don't quote me on this, but we're about 5% of that market. So we can assume that EVs will do relatively well in Florida as well. All right, here about our program. We managed an active program in the 90s, and when EVs went away, we kept at it. In fact, we deployed our first plug-in hybrid bucket truck in 2008. We now have 42 electric vehicles in our fleet, and that number actually is a little out of date. I think we're closer in the higher 40s now. We've got everything from an E-Star, which you may or may not be familiar with. It's a very large vehicle. It's approximately the size of a UPS type truck. We've got them servicing airports and so forth. We've got Transit Connects, which are servicing our meters. Great applications there. We've got Leafs and Volts. We're really excited to get the Ford Focus. I've been trying to convince my boss to get us a Fisker, but it's not working. You know, we're not doing this just for the green benefits. It's actually saving our customers money. In 2010, that year alone, we saved 538,000 gallons of fuel with our clean transportation initiatives. I'm not going to belabor this. These are our three focus areas for our EV program: ensure reliability, meet our customers' expectations, and support expansion of the market by helping remove a lot of the barriers of implementation. Impacts to the grid. Utilities think about two things, really. Adequate supply of power at the times that you need it. So are we producing enough electricity to satisfy the demand? And then how do we get that power to the customer's home? So there's that distribution and there's the supply. When we look at supply, we've got a really sophisticated model that allows us to put in lots of different scenarios. based on how many battery electric vehicles versus plug-in electric vehicles, what time of day they're going to charge, how many miles a day, lots of different variables, how many times they're going to charge a day. And we're seeing that it's going to be way out there before you even see that demand curve, the demand of EVs show up on our curve. So electric vehicle demand is a drop in the bucket when looking at total utility demand. So anybody who's concerned that we're going to have to go out and build lots of power plants for electric vehicles, it's just not going to happen. The second is getting the power to the homes. I won't get into it in too much detail since they covered it, but we had a model in 2008. We're verifying that with real-world data. We, like them, we're just anticipating some isolated issues. Fortunately, we haven't seen any yet, and we're hoping not to. We're trying to get ahead of it, though, so early notification of EV buyers is important. And we can't rely on the automakers to get that information to us, so we're looking for other sources to get us the data. Supporting customers. Like everyone else, we've got a website, got a dedicated email address, and so forth. I just pulled the metrics from our call center yesterday, and we had 2 calls in fourth quarter about electric vehicles. So not a whole lot of activity in our call center yet. However, I bet it's coming because we've done a lot of mass communication since August. And we're finding that the traffic, the metrics on those communications are really high. For example, I've had a couple YouTube videos, and on our YouTube channel in November, our EV video received the most clicks. Same thing with our newsletter. When we have our electronic newsletter, we've got lots of click-throughs on those compared to the other pieces in that newsletter. So people are very interested when they see the communications. Events. Within a month or 2 of getting on the job, we got our first leaf, and so off I went blindly, still learning, to do an event, and it was a grand opening at a hospital. Originally, our event strategy was going to be to stick with sustainability type events, but I learned very quickly that wherever there are people, we need to be. People of all walks of life are interested in electric vehicles, and so therefore, we're doing the best we can in getting out to events. I'm finding that that strategy is not going to work either because I could be, and my team could be at events almost on a daily basis. So lots of demand for them. Also doing a lot of outreach. Proud to say with our little group, we've reached 1,500 people since August doing outreach presentations. And those are great because it allows you to go into a lot more detail and depth and try to work through some of the problems that the industry is facing and remove some of those barriers. So I anticipate a lot more of that to come. You guys up here in Orlando are way ahead of us down in South Florida. So we were very fortunate and lucky to get the DOE planning grant that came out in September. We're working with the South Florida Regional Planning Council and the Gold Coast Clean Cities to work on this planning grant. Not a dime of it is going to go toward infrastructure, it's all for planning. We're going to focus on several areas. Fleet adoption. As you guys probably know, fleets are a great place for the market to start because the average business owner looks at the total life cycle cost of an asset and makes a business decision by it. And that's where EVs really shine because of their low operating costs. Whereas a consumer tends to look at the upfront purchase price, and even worse than that, they just want to know what their monthly payment is. So getting fleets involved is great early in the market. The second is policy and permitting and infrastructure development, making sure that things are streamlined, standardized, make it easy for people to go through that. Infrastructure, where are the right places to put public charging, where they're going to get used? Is it the corner store or is it a destination location, and in what concentrations? And the last are education and outreach, and then the last is a US 1 corridor project, which we're excited about. It's in Miami, there's public transportation, and it's putting rental car EVs at that source to help people get to where their final destination is. They can rent the cars, by the minute if they want. And that's a great way of getting EVs into the hands of a lot of different people. There's 100,000 riders a day there. So it's a low-cost, low-risk way of getting EVs tried. Again, it's only for a 7-county small regional area, but our intent in writing this is to make it easily replicatable in other parts of Florida. And that's all I have for you today.